June 30th, 1934. Munich. A hotel corridor just before dawn. The hallway is silent except for boots. Not marching boots. Not parade boots. These move softly, deliberately, leather brushing carpet rather than stone. The men wear dark uniforms marked by silver skulls. Small, precise symbols that mean death without spectacle. Their pistols are already drawn. Orders have been given. No warrants. No appeals. No questions. A door is forced open. Inside, a man jolts awake to the sound of his own name being shouted. Ernst Röhm, former ally, co-architect of the Nazi rise, commander of the SA, barely has time to recognize the faces standing over him before the reality settles in. These are not police. They are not soldiers. They are his men. And they have come to kill him. This is the night of the long knives. And the unit carrying it out is the Leibstandarte SS Adolf Hitler. To understand why this unit became one of the most disturbing formations of World War II, you must begin here, not on a battlefield but in a hotel room. Not with enemy fire, but with betrayal executed as policy. The Leibstandarte was not created to defend Germany. It was created to defend one man. In the early 1930s, Adolf Hitler does not trust institutions. He does not trust the army. He does not trust the police. He does not even fully trust the Nazi Party. Power, he believes, can only be secured by absolute loyalty, personal, unquestioning, enforced. From this belief emerges a small guard unit, handpicked and refined. The men are selected for physical strength, ideological commitment, and psychological malleability. They are trained not merely to obey orders, but to suppress hesitation itself. Their loyalty is not to law. It is not to Germany. It is to Adolf Hitler personally. By 1934, the Leibstandarte has already been shaped into something unique. Unlike the SA massive, undisciplined, politically volatile, this unit is compact, controlled, and utterly dependent on its leader. It answers directly to Hitler through Heinrich Himmler and Joseph Sepp Dietrich. They are told they are elite. They are told they are trusted. They are told they are indispensable. And now they are told to kill. The targets are not foreign enemies. They are fellow Nazis, men who had marched, fought, and bled for the movement. Rome is only the most famous. Across Germany, similar scenes unfold. Hotel rooms, private residences, barracks, names checked off lists, shots fired at close range, bodies removed quietly. There are no trials. There is no due process. There is only obedience. For the men of the Leibstandarte, this night becomes a defining moment. They learn that loyalty means eliminating threats before they act. That morality is irrelevant if an order comes from the right source. That violence is not a last resort, it is a tool of governance. And they perform exactly as designed. When the purge ends, Hitler publicly claims responsibility. The killings are retroactively legalized. The army, relieved to see the SA crushed, swears renewed loyalty. The state bends around the act, rather than the act bending to the state. And the Leibstandarte is rewarded, expanded, glorified. What began as a personal guard has now proven its value as an instrument of political murder. This is the moment the unit crosses a threshold. From bodyguards to executioners, from protectors to enforcers, the men understand what they have done, and they understand what it means. They have killed without hesitation. They have been praised for it. They have learned that the highest virtue is not courage or honor, but obedience. In the years that follow, the Leibstandarte will grow in size and status. It will be reorganized, militarized, and eventually sent to the front lines of a war that consumes Europe. But its core identity will never change. Whether in Poland, France, the Soviet Union, or Italy, the doctrine remains the same. Strike first. Question nothing. Serve the Führer. The night of the long knives is often remembered as a political purge. But for the Leibstandarte SS Adolf Hitler, it is something else entirely. It is their baptism. The night they proved they were willing to do what others could not or would not. And the night Germany learned that the most dangerous weapon in the Nazi arsenal was not an army. It was a unit trained to kill its own without blinking. 1934 to 1939. Germany. Barracks, training grounds, and private parades. After the Night of the Long Knives, the Leibstandarte SS Adolf Hitler is no longer merely trusted. It is indispensable. Hitler has seen what this unit can do when ordered to act without hesitation. Where others might waver, negotiate, or delay, the Leibstandarte executed cleanly and efficiently. That is the quality Hitler values above all others, and he intends to cultivate it. Recruitment tightens. Applicants are scrutinized with an intensity unmatched by any other formation in Germany. Physical fitness is mandatory, but it is not enough. Psychological screening becomes just as important. Candidates are evaluated for submissiveness to authority, ideological conformity, and emotional restraint. Men who question orders do not advance. Men who hesitate do not remain. Training reinforces the message daily. Drills emphasize precision and discipline over initiative. Individual thought is discouraged unless explicitly authorized. Punishments are severe and public. Loyalty is rewarded with privileges, access, and status denied to ordinary soldiers. The men are told repeatedly that they are different, not just better, but chosen. Symbols play a crucial role. The skull insignia, the Totenkopf, is worn openly. It is not meant to inspire fear in enemies alone, but to reshape the wearer's self-image. The uniform itself becomes a psychological weapon, reinforcing the idea that death follows wherever the unit goes. Rituals reinforce exclusivity. Oaths are sworn directly to Hitler, not to the Constitution or the nation. Ceremonies emphasize personal devotion. Parades place the unit at the Führer's side, close enough to be seen, photographed, and admired. Visibility equals importance. Internally, the Leibstandarte develops a closed culture. Members socialize almost exclusively with each other. Outsiders, even other SS units, are regarded with suspicion or contempt. The army is viewed as conservative and unreliable. The SA is remembered as a cautionary tale. Survival depends on loyalty upward, and loyalty must be absolute. By the late 1930s, the unit begins to change shape. What was once a guard formation is expanded into a regiment-sized force. Heavy weapons are introduced. Field exercises become more frequent. Combat training intensifies. Officially, this is preparation for war. Unofficially, it is preparation for something more specific. The Leibstandarte is being molded into a formation that can operate anywhere, politically or militarily, without constraints. The Anschluss of Austria and the occupation of Czechoslovakia offer early tests. The unit moves in alongside regular troops, but its role is distinct. It secures key buildings, intimidates opposition, and arrests perceived enemies. Violence is controlled, but unmistakable. The message is clear. Resistance will not be negotiated. It will be eliminated. Within the unit, pride deepens. Many members believe they are the sharp edge of a new Germany, unburdened by legal formalities, tradition, or restraint. They see themselves as the vanguard of a revolutionary state, trusted with tasks too sensitive or brutal for others. This belief will follow them into war. By September 1939, when Germany invades Poland, the Leibstandarte is ready, not just to fight, but to act. Its men have already learned that legality is flexible, morality optional, and obedience paramount. They have already participated in violence against unarmed targets. Combat will not change them. It will simply give them more opportunities. As Europe edges toward catastrophe, the Leibstandarte stands prepared, not as a conventional military unit, but as an extension of Hitler's will. A formation designed not merely to win battles, but to enforce a vision through fear, speed, and unquestioning compliance. September 1939. Poland. The opening days of a new kind of war. The unit crosses the border alongside regular army formations, but it does not move like them. Its columns are tighter. Its pace is faster. Its officers speak with an authority that bypasses local command structures. When orders come, they are brief and final. Villages are secured, roads cleared, prisoners taken. And then, in places that do not appear on maps, decisions are made quickly. Witness statements and post-war investigations reveal a pattern. The result is the same. Bodies left behind as warnings. The men of the Leibstandarte are not confused about what is expected of them. Their training has prepared them for this exact ambiguity, where legality is unclear and speed is paramount. They are conditioned to resolve uncertainty through action. If in doubt, eliminate the threat. In France, the unit's reputation grows darker. May 1940. Wormhout. British and French prisoners are gathered in a barn. They believe they are being processed. Instead, machine guns open fire. Survivors are finished off with pistols and grenades. The massacre is not an accident. It is not the result of panic. It is a decision. Within the SS hierarchy, such actions are quietly tolerated. Sometimes praised. Rarely punished. Investigations stall. Responsibility dissolves upward. The Leibstandarte status shields it. The men learn a dangerous lesson. There are no consequences if you belong to the right unit. As the war expands eastward, that lesson becomes doctrine. June 1941. Operation Barbarossa. The invasion of the Soviet Union. Here, the boundaries vanish entirely. The Eastern Front is framed not as a conventional campaign, but as an ideological war of annihilation. Orders from above are explicit. Commissars are to be executed. Partisans are to be eradicated. Civilians who assist them are enemies. The Leibstandarte embraces this framework seamlessly. Villages are burned in retaliation for ambushes. Hostages are taken and shot. Entire communities are punished for the actions of a few. The distinction between combatant and civilian dissolves under the unit's advance. Soldiers write home of hard fighting and harsh conditions. They do not write about the dead lining the roads. Eyewitnesses, both victims and perpetrators, later describe a chilling efficiency. Killings are carried out methodically, without rage or hesitation. Officers supervise. Men rotate duties. Ammunition is conserved. This is not chaos. It is procedure. By 1942, the Leibstandarte has fully transformed into a frontline combat division, heavily armed, battle-hardened, and feared by enemies and allies alike. This tactical performance is often praised. Its discipline under fire is real, but it is inseparable from its crimes. German army officers increasingly avoid operating alongside the unit, not out of moral objection but out of concern. The Leibstandarte draws attention. It leaves evidence. It creates problems that ripple backward through command structures. Yet it continues to receive preferential treatment. Better equipment, better replacements, political protection. For the men themselves, the line between soldier and executioner has long since vanished. They have learned to compartmentalize violence, to view brutality as professionalism, to see mercy as weakness. The values instilled in 1934, obedience, exclusivity, unquestioning loyalty, have found their ultimate expression. By the midpoint of the war, the Leibstandarte is no longer simply a unit that commits atrocities. It is a unit designed to do so, a formation that carries the logic of the Night of the Long Knives onto an industrial scale, applied now to entire populations. And it is far from finished. 1942 to 1944. The Eastern Front, Italy and Western Europe. As the war turns against Germany, the Leibstandarte does not moderate its behavior. It intensifies it. Losses mount. Front lines harden. The certainty of victory fades. But inside the unit, defeat is not interpreted as a reason for restraint. It is justification for escalation. If Germany is losing, then enemies must be crushed faster. If loyalty is tested, it must be proven through action. On the Eastern Front, the Leibstandarte fights some of the most brutal battles of the war. Kharkov, Kursk, retreats under pressure. Counterattacks launched with fanatic determination. Tactically, the division performs well. Its officers are experienced. Its men are aggressive. In after-action reports, commanders praise its ability to hold ground and counterattack under extreme conditions. But behind the front lines, the pattern continues. Partisan warfare becomes the unit's preferred justification for terror. Villages suspected of harboring resistance are encircled. Men are separated from women and children. Interrogations are brief. Punishments collective. Entire settlements are erased to send a message to those who remain. The language in reports remains abstract. Pacification, security operation, anti-bandit action. The reality is annihilation. In Italy and later in Western Europe, the Leibstandarte's reputation precedes it. Civilians flee at rumors of its approach. Allied intelligence flags the unit as particularly dangerous, not just for its combat effectiveness, but for its likelihood to commit reprisals. Even within the Waffen-SS, the Leibstandarte stands apart. It is the standard others are measured against. By 1944, many of its original members are dead or wounded. Replacements arrive younger, less experienced, but the culture remains intact. New recruits learn quickly what is expected, not through instruction manuals, through example. Veterans model behavior. Officers enforce norms. Dissent is punished harshly. Atrocities are framed as necessary, even virtuous. The division's identity has become self-sustaining. It no longer requires direct orders to commit crimes. It anticipates them. As Allied forces land in Normandy and push inland, the Leibstandarte is thrown into desperate defensive fighting. Retreats are brutal. Casualties are enormous. The unit's cohesion begins to crack, not morally but structurally. Yet even in collapse, the core principle holds. Loyalty does not waver. When the war reaches Germany itself, the men fight with the same mindset they carried into Poland a decade earlier. They have learned no other way to exist. Surrender feels like betrayal. Survival without purpose feels impossible. The unit that began as a personal guard now clings to a personal myth. That obedience justifies everything. As the Third Reich disintegrates, the Leibstandarte leaves behind a trail of devastation that cannot be erased by battlefield valor or post-war excuses. It has done exactly what it was created to do. And that is what makes it so disturbing. 1945 and after. Defeat, trials, and memory. When the war ends, the men of the Leibstandarte do not vanish. They surrender, are captured, interrogated, and sometimes put on trial. Others blend into the chaos of post-war Europe, carrying with them a history they rarely speak about openly. What remains is evidence. Allied investigators piece together the unit's record from survivor testimony, battlefield reports, and SS documents left behind in retreat. The pattern is unmistakable. The crimes are not isolated. They are consistent across time, geography, and command. From Poland to France. From the Soviet Union to Italy. From civilians to prisoners of war. The same behaviors recur. The same justifications are offered. In courtrooms, former members often defend themselves with familiar language. Orders were followed. Circumstances were extreme. Others would have done the same. But the tribunals uncover something deeper. The Leibstandarte did not merely follow orders. It internalized them. Historians later identify the unit as a case study in how ideology, structure, and reward systems can produce sustained mass violence without constant oversight. The men were not born killers. They were shaped deliberately by an organization that rewarded obedience and punished restraint. From the night of the long knives onward, the message never changed. Loyalty is everything. Law is irrelevant. Violence is virtue. This is what makes the Leibstandarte uniquely unsettling. It was not an accidental outgrowth of war. It was a prototype, a formation built to demonstrate how absolute loyalty could be weaponized, first against political rivals, then against entire populations. Its crimes were not deviations. They were outcomes. In post-war Germany, the unit becomes a symbol of something many wish to forget. Veterans associations attempt to recast its history as purely military. Memoirs emphasize battlefield suffering while omitting victims' names. But the record resists revision. The skull insignia remains what it always was. A warning. Today, the Leibstandarte SS Adolf Hitler is remembered not for its tactical skill or battlefield endurance, but for what it represents. The terrifying efficiency of a unit that abandoned moral restraint in favor of personal devotion. It shows how quickly law can be replaced by loyalty, how easily violence can be normalized, and how an elite force, praised, it reminds us that the most dangerous units are not always those that fight the hardest, but those that stop asking why they fight at all.